Hello, everybody, and welcome to the No Zone. This is the Tardis Talks, and we're here to do a review of 73 Yards, which just dropped Friday night for any of us that actually watched Friday night. The panelists should be here with me presently, but let's see who we have in the chat. We got Lee Anthony Davis, we got Michael in the chat, we got Dark Donny, we've got Aaron in the chat as well. Alan is in the chat. David also in the chat. We got Rob Fellows in the chat. Nicholas Horton in the chat, and Squibs in the chat as well. Now we are started early. It was supposed to be 10 minutes ago, but I actually I'm in the middle of doing something else, so I'm all over the place today. But we'll be leaving in about 45 minutes, so this one is going to be short and sweet, folks. So I have alerted the other two panelists that we are starting early, and I have sent the emails, so we'll see if they pop in. So, but we do have two panelists here, so without further ado, I'm going to get them on, and we're going to get straight into this. No fucking around tonight, just straight into it. Because, you know, I just want to kind of get this over with and the rest of them over with now. I will say this, even though I did enjoy this, and I did openly say Friday night that I did enjoy this, I am aware that there are a lot of plot holes. I am aware that there was, you know, Orange Man bad and made, you know, the equation between the Welsh Prime Minister and Donald Trump. It was obviously obvious to see, but you strip away that nonsense, there was actually something there. But it's polarized a lot of fans, because a lot of fans have said it doesn't make any sense. It's all over the place. Then Russell hasn't helped the situation by saying he's never going to tell us what the woman's been saying to these people to make them run away, which I think is actually very stupid, unless he's deliberately saying that. Why you wouldn't want to actually explain all of that is beyond me. But let's get the rest of the panelists on, because as I said, we'll be out of here now before we hit the 7:30 mark. I want to be out of here by about 20 past. So we've got our panelists on, Queen Charlotte and PD Rich. Hopefully we will be joined by Cinnamon Toast Crunch and maybe Matt Potts a little bit later on. But if not, I do send my apologies to those guys. I did actually send them just earlier on, like I sent the guys here messages to let them know what the story was. So now you're messing with the time streams again. Well, you know, there's nothing I can do about that. I'm a very busy man at the moment. So I as I said, you know, I will be doing these reviews, but I'm not going to have a set time. It's very hard to have a set time now when I've got other things going on at the moment, unfortunately. But let's get into 73 yards. So guys, what we'll do is, you know, we don't have to do the good or bad, we'll just talk about it in general, really. So whoever wants to start on the panel, you're more than welcome to go. So we're actually, Queen Charlotte, if you'd like to start off about what you thought about 73 yards. Now let's not forget, before I do start, that RTD did say, and I want to just make sure that people remember this, this was bigged up as the best thing that RTD has written for Doctor Who, including himself. Now, while I did enjoy it, I will say this: is it the best thing that I've ever seen or seen written by RTD? I would have to say no, personally speaking. But Queen Charlotte, what were your overall feelings of this particular episode 73 yards?
I will say this is the best he has written for this series so far, if you compare this to Space Babies and Devil's Cord, because what for me this episode did was certain aspects it absolutely nailed. The atmosphere, the sort of feeling of isolation for Ruby. I love that stuff in the pub at the beginning. Like for me, that is Russell once again almost evolved, doing this thing of knowing people and how to write people. The whole idea of her being an outsider. And if you've ever been to these sort of more villagey, sort of rural areas, that happens. You walk into a pub, they all look at you like you need to go straight back out again. You don't feel welcome. And it got that really well, that vibe. Like I said, atmosphere was so good in this. I think some of the story aspects were actually written quite well. The idea of the fairy circle and them sort of messing with something old, something ancient.
Yeah,
That was done really well.
yeah.
And if you know old Celtic, I don't know if that's the right term now because it's not
Celt,
English
yeah.
old law, but you know
Paganism.
pagan, that's the word. If you know pagan stuff about fairies, they're not nice. They're not these nice little Disney
No.
creations they're horrible. They mess with people, they do horrible things. So I like the fact that Russell was sort of reminding and going back to that old Celtic root again, which I think was lovely to see. And I think this is probably some of the best emotional beats he's done so far. Now, because we've got to know the mum, when that whole scene of her running away, and because of the acting of Ruby and the actress, I don't know the actress for the mum, I don't know her name. You bought how much that hurt Ruby. You bought how much that was traumatic for her because of her upbringing, that she didn't have anybody. So she was very close to her mum. And like I said, now because we've seen the mum and that relationship in a couple of episodes, it actually hit you. Whereas in Church and Ruby Road, it didn't hit you when the mum had that thing of, oh, I've never had her, I've never had kids. You didn't buy that. But now, this sort of Ruby feeling out by herself, you bought. And actually, Roger is probably one of the better, by far. He's not a really complex villain. He's not a really sort of brand new type of villain, but at least he had a bit of a menace about him. And I think that was the actor. And it was a bit of the writing as well. At least you actually felt this is actually a nasty piece of work here. And that's been my other problem so far. We've not had really good threats in this series. At least he was, like I said, you got that smarmy politician quite well. You got that sort of falsity that politicians have, that whole thing when he was talking about, oh, I grew up in Wales and like I had nothing. That's what politicians do now. So that was a good little commentary, I felt. But for all those positives, which were really well done, like you said, the more you thought about the actual plot, the more you went, no, that didn't make sense. Why did that happen? Russell didn't make that connect. Like the whole thing about what did she say to the people to make them run away? When that's basically how Ruby saves the day, that power, because that's what it was treated as in the script. When that's how everything's resolved and you don't explain it, that's then a bad writing. That's lazy writing. That's
True.
Russell taking shortcuts, which is what's doing my head in right now with Russell. Because it made me think, because I know some people might go, oh, but it's being mysterious. And then I thought back to Midnight. And I thought, no, compare that to Midnight. We never really knew what the creature was in Midnight. But it was quite well written and it was quite clearly shown how it worked as a creature, how it got in people's heads, how they repeated. It's sort of, so in the plot, you understood how it worked, you just didn't know what it was. That's how you do a mysterious sort of vibe with your writing versus what Russell did, which was, I'm going to have a major part of my story and then I'm never going to explain it. And now he's coming out saying he's never going to. Russell, that's a joke. Because to me, like I said, that even more is showing you've probably not even thought through this bits of this story. It felt in bits like he just had a good idea, but he didn't have the explanation behind it. Like he just wanted to have Ruby age. He wanted to do that. Let's go through a life, but he couldn't think of a good enough reason to do it, so he just made it up. Like that sort of vibe I was getting with bits of this story. So yeah, so honestly, the more, and I've seen this actually, what you said about people having different views. I saw a lot initial, oh, brilliant episode. And then the more it sort of stuck with people to think about it, actually, this is a very messy episode, which, like I said at the beginning, absolutely nails some aspects, but then it's really short in others. And he can't do a lot of episodes like this that don't make sense. You don't sort of get that free pass. I think it's done now. He's had his mysterious episode. He needs to just do a solid written episode now, in my opinion, after this. Yeah, so that's my sort of rough thoughts.
Someone in the chat just said there the first 20 minutes pretty deep. Yeah, I think the moods kind of shifted after she went back to London or whatever, wherever she went back. But all the stuff in Wales was actually, that little village was actually very good. But here's one for you. You know, if it's upsetting a certain Mr. Teabag out there this episode, that tells you everything you need to know. This episode is very polarizing. Like yourself, I did find aspects of this actually very interesting. But the more you do think about it, and even the more I was even thinking about while I was watching it, I even said at the end after I watched it, I know this has plot holes galore, right? You could even add glaring plot holes. I mean, so some people did say this was him trying to reimagine kind of like a midnight vibe or turn left kind
I
of.
think he was.
And again, we said that, Charlotte, though, at the start, didn't we? If he was going to try and take some of these things and put a new spin on it, he'd want to be good. And it just seems like, I agree with you now, it's at the stage now where he just needs to do a Doctor Who episode. Apparently next week's episode is Dr. Light again.
I'm dreading next week. That's all else. I'm sorry, Saturday now. I'm dreading Saturday.
Cinnamon has joined us anyway.
I was over celebrating my granddad's birthday.
Happy birthday to Granddad.
Okay.
I've only just been I thought we started 7. I thought that was the time, but in my mind.
Yeah, I sent you a message. To explain. I've got some things on tonight, so I'm actually leaving early. So, yeah, I sent you a message. I sent you a DM a while ago to explain, but it's all good. You're here. So,
and I've just gone over my sort of feelings, so you've not missed loads, Cinnamon.
Yeah, you haven't missed much. So, yeah, well, I suppose PD, we'll let you go next, and then we'll go straight to Cinnamon's opinion. But go ahead.
Okay, I didn't hate this episode, which was nice for once in this season. But I did find out a lot after watching the episode. I mean, about after the Kate Lethbridge Stewart stuff, it kind of turned into years and years. And I thought, oh God, and just kind of droned on. And the bit on the field, I thought the bit on the football field, on the pitch at Cardiff, I'm like, what the hell are you doing? You don't have to be directly in the middle of the field to get 73 yards on what's his name?
Roger.
On Roger, that's it, on Roger. Yeah, or Red Jack Roger, we call him.
Mad Jack.
Mad Jack Roger, that's it, Mad Jack Roger. And I'm like, why are you running into the middle of the field like an idiot? You can do it from the sideline and make
It's
it.
because it looked dramatic, Peter.
I know, but it was just so. I'm not going to use the word thick, I think, or stupid. I mean, you could have done it from the corner. But yeah, there's the problem.
The woman, didn't she? I think.
Yeah, but she could have done it on the diagonal. I mean, the overall theme was from this It follows. Bits of it I think it was inspired by a Star Trek Deep Space Nine episode, The Visitor. The pub bit was American Werewolf in London, as we all know. But I loved the first bit. The first half of the episode felt like Torchwood. I kind of liked it. And then the second half just felt like years and years and just felt like complete two different episodes mashed together. But it's like, it was a mystery box story as usual. It was a bit, and as I said, when it hit the Torchwood, with the years and years bit, it just felt a bit long and dull. And then what I thought was an interstellar ending at the end. But do you know what I found? I think I know what happened, and I can tell you that now. There was three characters at the start, and one disappeared, as we know. And what I think happened is Mad Jack died in the main universe, but he was when the Doctor and him switched over when Ruby stepped on the fairy circle, and also the other lady was the other character that was left behind. It was a TARDIS. That's my theory on it. I think the other Ruby was actually the TARDIS hologram, and because Ruby's got these weird powers, it couldn't get any closer than 73 yards until the day she died. But it's like,
Yeah, but hang on, PD, right? That's great, and that fits.
It's been done.
Right?
It's been done though. No,
Isn't it RTD's job though?
Yes,
to kind of
exactly.
do that. Yeah, like he said that, like the interesting thing as well when he said about what the woman said. Well, that's up to fans. Fans can come to their own. So that's basically you admitting you don't know what.
That's what I said.
He's just copied Hal. He's copied the TARDIS and Hal. When the TARDIS wouldn't let Clara in and had a go at Clara.
That was Clara, yeah, that whole scene.
Yeah, but there's some reason the TARDIS couldn't get within 33 yards because Ruby's got these mystical powers. She probably caused the Doctor to disappear when she stepped on the fairy circle. It's just so baffling. It's like Prometheus. I don't want to sit here after that 2 days after the episode going, how did this happen? And looking back at old episodes. It's like, it is lazy. I will completely agree with Charlotte. It's totally lazy. But it is plausible in this universe, though. But you've got to look into it again. And that's what I used to love about Doctor Who. We used to do that back in the old days. We used to work stuff out. It's a shame we don't do that now, but it's like, it is lazy writing in this day and age. If only the TARDIS, if it was the TARDIS, if only the old woman explained in a bit of exposition what the hell happened.
I'm sorry, this episode needed 10 more minutes. This episode needed 10 more minutes at least.
I thought, Charlotte, while I kind of get where you're coming from, I disagree with you. I think all it needed was RTD to actually, write a lot better.
Yeah.
His writing for this, look, there's some interesting concepts there, but we're actually seeing now where he falls short as a writer and where his ability is when it comes to sci-fi. He just cannot figure these things out. Imagine saying leave it to fans to decide what the woman is saying to make people run away. I'm sorry, RTD, but you need to explain that shit.
I completely
the TARDIS. The TARDIS will tell them exactly. Tell them what.
I want you to tell me, Russell.
Yeah, but it's.
I'm here. I want to watch it.
Do you remember? Yeah. Do you remember back in the old days with the Moffat's episodes with Matt Smith? Sometimes you just get that big expedition dump at the end, and then something else would go up for the next episode. We needed that. We never.
They could have said she's the timeless child. She destroys the universe or something, and then you could be, at least it's an explanation why people are running away. But when our own foster mother just looks at her with contempt and disgust,
and it's not even that. Did you catch the line? She even put out an injunction against her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and what Kate said, who called her a barbarian. It's like insane, But it's like it needed an expedition. It needed Shooty and Millie in the TARDIS, and it needed one of those Matt Smith style exposition dumps at the end explaining what happened and another mystery to pop up. And two just say, "Oh yeah, you go and push a couple of buttons. And, oh yes, that's the TARDIS. That's the TARDIS. It's security protocol. He wouldn't let you back in, and it was trying to fix it. It had to cause a paradox in the end, or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But before we get to Cinnamon, I just want to remind everybody that RTD said this was the best thing he'd written for Doctor Who.
Oh,
So if
God.
that's his best, it means that the
No.
next few episodes to come are
Yeah.
Are
absolutely
going to be
rubbish.
terrible.
Well, let's go to Cinnamon Toast.
Just before, I want to say this, just to finish off. Iron Maiden has said that about 3 or 4 times. This is our best album. Guess what? I've hated every single time they've said that because it's been their worst album. It's always the one afterwards their better album. So it's like rock bands. Anyway, Cinnamon, over to you, buddy.
Well, yeah, it's funny you said that now because I've just been reminded of that, and that leads me on to my point, which is Russell did say that, didn't he? Said this is the best thing he's ever written.
Yep.
Yeah.
Big words, and I said before that if that's the little game he's going to go by, if that's how he's describing it, then we will hold him to those standards because he's put himself on those standards.
Yeah.
And is it the best thing he's ever written? Well, I think we all know the answer. It's probably no. He's written far better stuff. Did I like the episode? Yeah. I'd give. Well, I know we're not. I won't do ratings just yet, but I liked it for the idea of it. A lot of it works, a lot of it doesn't, and it leaves you with questions. It has a bit of a weird tonal shift, this one, because it starts off quite creepy, and I really like the beginning of it. And I did say that, the lack of title sequence did annoy me, but I suppose on reflection, it's quite an upbeat title sequence, the music and everything, so I suppose it would take away from the episode if I put it in there, I guess. But, they start off with the really good sort of tension, and the music as well is actually really good. The music's perfect. You've got all the fog and the mist coming on the cliffs. It looked great. Where'd the Doctor go? I mean, we all know why he isn't there, because this obviously coincides with a lot of what was first filmed, because I remember seeing Millie running down the road screaming mum, and I remember everyone on Twitter was like, what's she saying? And it's quite interesting when you're like, oh, that's that scene, is it? That's that scene. So Shruti, this is the Doctor Light episode, which is, again, leads me into another point of why are we getting Doctor Light episodes in this day and age with this small episodes? But, that's another thing. But yeah, it starts off in one direction, and then, like PD says, I've never even seen Years and Years, but yeah, I still got a Years and Years kind of feel from it. It went into this, everyone's chanting Roger, 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 and it's like, okay. And then the music that plays, and it's like it downplays the creepiness of the villain, because you had a really good, like, kind of creepy factor about this woman that's stalking her. And then when they have the whole montage of, like, her growing up and stuff, and then you've got this music playing, and it's like, okay, it kind of, again, a little bit like I think Charlotte said before about Space Babies, where you actually, for a while, you actually had quite a good creepy villain, and then when the realization that it's not, it kind of like, it lessens the fear factor of it. It's like he's shooting himself in the foot, really, isn't it?
Yeah, because Ruby also went from hating this figure to like being almost friendly with it, which also made me go, what? When I was watching it.
That's what I mean, like the whole raising a glass to it. I suppose from her point of view, she would be less scared of it over time as she got used to it. But it's like, from our point of view, we don't know who this woman is. And again, like we were saying earlier, like again, Russell, I can see why he's doing it. On paper, it sounds like interesting. Oh, what's she saying? What he says it in Unleashed. He says like, oh, what could be so bad that a mother would like blank her own child for the rest of the life? Like, what could be so bad that you could say it to someone? And he builds it. Oh, it's so interesting. What could be so bad? Doesn't tell you though. I'm sorry, but like, I'm watching the episode for you to tell me. Why do I need to make up my own mind? This isn't like a midnight situation. Like, oh, what was that creature? What was that midnight entity? What was it? And you never get the answers, and you're not supposed to. And I suppose he's trying to do that here, but it doesn't work because the whole premise of it is kind of built on that. It's what is she saying? Who is this woman? And it's like, okay, so, and it was quite predictable. Even I know I'm not very good at predicting things. Most when people say, oh, that's predictable, I'm usually not that person. Usually things can catch me by surprise. I don't know. That's just me. But even I guessed this. I thought, well, it's obviously going to be her, isn't it? It's obviously going to do a full circle, and then by the end, she's going to have to sort of live to death. She's brought the he keeps stepping on things, doesn't he? That's twice or 3 times now he stepped on.
Yeah, there's got to be something in that though. Doesn't there, Cinnamon?
Yeah, I think there'll be a plot point to that because I like to think everything's deliberate. You know, everything you see, everything that's put in there is done for a reason. You'd like to think. So maybe there's a thing with that because again, he stepped on this charm thing. Then I guess again when we talk about theories and stuff about the trailers, and I keep talking about multiverses and is it a different universe? So I think she's obviously stepped on this thing. Something's gone wrong because Shooty's disappeared again. But that I can't, that I don't know why that's happened. Like again, you said being magical, but like in terms of the plot and actually watching it, nothing isn't actually explaining where he's gone. But
no, that's completely left as well.
That's still annoying me because I want to know that. Like, you can fine, you can have him not in the episode. That's one thing, and even then, I still don't think that's great. But that's one thing. But you don't even explain. Like, okay, so does this? If it is stepping in a different universe, does that then mean that the Doctor's now not in it anymore? Again, it just to me that doesn't seem explained, and I've yet to see anyone explain that to me.
I'm glad Shooty wasn't in this episode though.
Yeah, well,
I think I enjoyed it more. I feel if Shooty had been in this episode, he actually would have took away from the tone. I don't know. I just think this showed me that Shooty is miscast. Actually,
yeah, it's written in a way where obviously if he wasn't, it would make sense because the whole story. That I mean, again, Russell would chat it up to be some great, mastermind of his because. Typically, Doctor Who has always thrived under pressure. Or at least it's definitely used to. Whenever it was thrown a curveball, like, oh, the Doctor can't do this because Shooty's already got commitments elsewhere to sex education. So, and again, like Blink, all these great episodes that, have had these restrictions or lack of budget, or it's got this problem or that problem. So they've had to sort of actually be creative and actually come up with it. So, although it's written to suit Ruby, and I think Millie did very, very great job to carry an episode in what was the very first thing she filmed, so that should be praised. I just think, again, and I think the whole character of Roger as well was. I think he was. I wasn't. The chalk came up to be some big bad thing, which he was, but there wasn't much there to him, was there? He wasn't much of a character. Okay,
it was clear. Look, there's messaging in this, but it was clear that RTD wanted to use this politician that was going to become even the nuclear code. This was something that Donald Trump was doing when he was in and stuff that he said. So this fellow was a reflection of Donald Trump. He made it clear, by the way, that this man had raped your woman, but he doesn't say it. But then I'm thinking to myself, but this is supposed to be a family TV show on Doctor Who, and should type of themes be in a sci-fi show called Doctor Who. Now, I'm not going to get into all of that because it's clear that the messaging is in every episode. There's no point of us repeating the same shit over and over again. But the thing that frustrates me about this episode is that there are so many fucking unanswered questions, right?
Yeah.
For starters, right? It's not even that complicated either. Like, this would be easy to figure. I mean, what is the man doing when he's actually sitting down and this stuff is coming out of his brain? I mean, RTD, I get it that not all things need a resolution, right? But if you're doing something like this and you're putting stuff in and people are running away, this from this woman every time they mention something about the companion, and then you're telling the audience, oh, by the way, I'm not going to explain to you, you'll never find out. I mean, come on, mate. I mean, but I have to ask you this question now, because I don't think there is much to say about this. Like, I mean, it's not absolute rubbish, but it's not great. It's just one of those episodes. I even said at the night of me watch along, this will be an episode that will polarize a lot of people. There'll be either people that like it, there'll be people confused by it, There'll be people that'll just like say, yeah, I like some elements of it, but a lot of plot holes, blah, blah, blah. I did enjoy it though with all of that going on. That's the weird thing about this one. And it did, I will agree, you know, it did have this years and years vibe, and it just doesn't work for Doctor Who. But again, these kind of themes that he's addressing in this show, this is supposed to be a family TV show. I know they did some stuff in the 70s, right, and the 80s and all, and this is why, like, you know, he's probably doing this. But I don't know, man. This if this wasn't called Doctor Who and this was a once-off or a little mini even a Torchwood episode. If this was a Torchwood episode, then I'd get this. If this was a unit episode, I'd get this. But this is Doctor Who, and it didn't feel like a Doctor Who episode. Maybe that's why you enjoyed it. But I have to ask you this question. We are now officially halfway through RTD's era. First season of his of Dead. Well, we're definitely getting 2 seasons. He's writing the third apparently, or has written the third. But we're definitely getting 2 seasons anyway. I reckon we will get the 3 seasons out of him. But we're halfway through the 4th season of his new era of Doctor Who. Right now, what are your thoughts overall? Are you optimistic for the second half of the series? And let's be honest, the next episode looks absolutely ridiculous. I just want to make that clear. It does. It's got that big slug monster that we saw the photographs of. It does look absolutely ridiculous. Another Dr. Light.
I was going to say, apparently, Cinnamon, this one on Saturday is Dr. Light and possibly Millie Light.
Again.
So we could have do you know how, like, back in the day,
monsters again.
Do you know how back in the day you'd get even no doctor or companion, like just a new character carry the story? That's what I think we're going to get on Saturday.
There is a reason behind that. I have to pick up for the production team here slightly. This was the time when the filming all of this, that Shooty was still working on sex education.
I don't think that's an excuse because I get that's the legal answer, and yeah, that is the answer, that he was a contracted to under the show and he is committed to that show. But then why not wait then? Why not delete the series? Because it's affecting it now. If that is the case, and this is yet another, that's 2 Doctor Light episodes in an 8-episode season. Yeah. But then you get choices then, don't you? Like I don't think that's an excuse, because that's not. I know, but it isn't, because I mean the Black Mirror episodes everyone's calling it now, which is funny because I was calling it that before everyone else was. But I mean, is that what they're going to do? Because they've got him on his screen, haven't they? This woman who's got she can FaceTime anybody at any time she wants, and then they're in this paradise little world, and so he's going to be stuck in a computer, a bit like Blink. He's going to be telling everyone, I think. Sending messages to everyone from beyond. Like, I mean, I was quite looking forward to the next one as well, because I thought.
Well, look, it might be still good. I mean, you know, there's a slight improvement. I mean, it's not much of an improvement if you see. This is the thing. He should never have said that this was the best thing that he written for Doctor Who, because it's so clearly a lie that even people that don't like Russell T's writing will admit that his earlier stuff for Doctor Who, you know, during his heyday, was much better than this. That's the disappointing thing about this. The politics are in your face as well, and there was no need for it, really. Do you know what I mean? But he was trying to make a point that if everybody votes Donald Trump in 2024, this is the type of man that you got, a man that's being accused of what he's being accused of and wants to have his finger on the red button and all of this other nonsense. But we get it. We get it, RTD. We get it. You don't like Donald Trump. We got it from the other showrunner as well. We get it. You don't like Donald Trump, but you don't need to force it down the rest of our throats. We get it. Right? We get that you think he's a scumbag and he's guilty of the things that he's being accused of. But that's your opinion. Right? But you don't have no right to use Doctor Who to shove your opinions and your beliefs down people's throats. Now, that isn't the main issue with this episode, though. The main issue with this episode is the glaring fucking plot holes. I mean, for God's sake, man, back in the day, you had little things like Bad Wolf, you know, Yarna, You know, things like that. And now you've got
The
this shite.
bees.
I mean,
I've
for
got a
God's
question for everybody, actually. I've got a question because everyone thinks that this woman, this Susan Twist, that keeps popping up all over the place.
Yeah.
Everyone's kind of naturally assume that she's going to be a villain. And my thinking is, well, is she? I think who's to say she's not like an ally or
She's not a villain.
in the middle, because
she's
my
dead.
thinking is she's being quite friendly with Ruby, and she's not being depicted as nasty or villainous. Okay, yeah, she was on the face of the villain guard thing, but maybe that was just, you know, something that she's trying to reach out to the Doctor. Maybe she just put that face there or something.
Imagine if she ended up being an older version of Susan or something, and Susan
Or Romana.
Susan with a twist.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, you know, he seems to be so obvious with these things now. He's called this character Susan Twist. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a different version of Susan Twist. Like, do you know what I mean? Because he's that fucking obvious and stupid.
But here's my thing now.
She's the reason that if she had something to do with that woman following Ruby around, then she probably would.
But before you do jump in there, Charlotte, I just want to ask is real quickly the whole lot of you so far, right? We're halfway through the season. Just real briefly, I don't want you to go into a big explanation because I want Charlotte to finish her point and Cinnamon to finish his as well. But where are you feeling so far halfway through the season? So is it, in your opinion, good? Is it average good? Very good? Has it been excellent? I'll start with you, Cinnamon, first. What would you say so far?
Not excellent. Even though I'm the most optimistic one, it's not been.
So you're going to say good or average or
very good? Yeah, very good at best. Good.
Right. PD.
Mediocre is probably the only word I can use so far.
Right, that's fair. Queen Charlotte.
Inconsistent.
That's a good word. I like that. I have to say I haven't liked this up until this episode, so I have to be fair and say very poor. But that doesn't mean that the next 4 episodes can be good. But Cinnamon, you finished the end of your point because then Charlotte was going to jump in with hers. But you're sorry for jumping across because people in the chat were telling me how they were feeling as well about it, and I just wanted to get the panel's feelings on it, so we know now. So finish your point, and then Charlie, you jump in there when he's finished because we're finishing up in around 10-15 minutes, folks. Okay, so just keep an eye on the time as well, folks. Go ahead.
Just on the point about Susan, really. Again, I think a lot of us have kind of assumed that she's going to be a villain of some kind, or the villain of the season. Again, I was just thinking about this actually today because my sister was behind. She didn't watch them because she'd been on holiday. So when she got back, I sort of caught up and we watched them together, all 4 in a row, which is an experience because you do see it in a different light actually when you watch them all together in like one sitting. You see the sort of inconsistencies, I suppose, or the quality from week to week compressed into one sitting kind of thing. And obviously watching that, and you get the impression that, from my impression, that we haven't actually seen anything malicious or nasty from this Susan Twist character. And again, if she was behind this mysterious woman appearing, following Ruby around, then I can't imagine she would go up to her and talk to her and get scared off, kind of thing. So maybe there's something going on with that. I don't know, but again, it dives into the point, doesn't it? Of so little time, less episodes, and so much to cram in.
Amen.
What will be tied up just in this season? What's this season's story arc, and then what's the multi-season story arc? Because I'm sure he'll be doing something like that for season 2 and 3, something that continues. But that's just. I'm still bugged out about the potential that next week could be a Doctor Light. I haven't heard anyone say that up until now. That's bugging me because it would make sense as well because that was so soon after all the announcement. That was way back in December. I remember that when they first announced Shooty's costume, and we all thought that was going to be his main costume. And I remember seeing that, and it was oh yeah, we're all ready to start filming, and they danced around in the car park, and so I hope not.
Right, Charlotte.
This Black Mirror as well, and they're saying the next one's going to be very Black Mirror. It's a lot of Black Mirror. I mean, a lot of influences from other shows.
Yeah, but like Black Mirror episodes are not bad. See, if it was done well within Doctor Who, Russell T was capable of actually pulling off a Black Mirror episode, then this would actually be good. You have to bring in Charlie Brooker if you're going to do something like that.
Yeah.
That he's the one, that's the person you bring in if you're going to do dark or Black Mirror episodes with Doctor Who, and it would actually work. I've said this before. I said this in the air. Remember when we first started this channel, when we were talking about potential showrunners to take over? I actually mentioned Charlie Brooker because I did like their writing style, and I think it would fit brilliantly into Doctor Who.
Very dark.
But go on, Charlotte, because as we said, we're getting near the time for the rating. But go ahead, Charlotte. You get your point across.
Yeah, just to add to the Susan Twist thing, I honestly am getting to the point now that I'm fed up of seeing the actress.
Yeah.
Because they're not doing anything with her. Like Cinnamon said, she's just appearing, having one line of dialogue that isn't really that substantial. And even
hang on. Has anybody thought of putting all the dialogue that she said together to see if there's that within the dialogue? Because we know the way RTD likes an old anagram.
Oh, well, for me, I'm trying to think back to most of the things, and it's very much for that scene. She asked for another song, I think it was, in church. When she was Newton, I can't even remember. Like I said, it's not even...
Yeah, it's all very... Yeah, it's all very in context to that scene. Like, again, even in this one, being very friendly. Oh, the car broke down. Oh, bless. Like, she's being really over-friendly.
Yeah, so it's not like cryptic.
My thing is, sorry, Charlotte. My thing is, who's Mrs. Flood? That's who I want to know.
She's been forgotten. Let's be fair now, everybody.
Yeah.
But here's my problem. I keep having this actress and not doing anything with her.
Sorry,
By the time we get any sort of a reveal, I think it's going to be lessen now impact. Because, like I said, I'm fed up of seeing this woman.
Yeah. Sorry for interrupting, Charlotte. I just was curious about who Mrs. Flood is. Because I think it's so.
Oh, Anita Dobson.
I know who it is. I know the person who plays her, but who is she really? Is she the Flood?
I wish I was.
From Chibnall's era. Is she one of the
It's all over the place.
Oh yeah.
There's nothing. Look, it's what they do in Hollywood and Disney quite a lot. Nothing makes sense, and then people try to make sense of it, and then fans end up having rows because the fans that come up with the theories are usually on the other side to justify all of this nonsense. Then us fans who are the real brain thinkers in the fandom say that doesn't make any fucking sense what you're talking about. Anyway. As I said, we have to wrap up early tonight, but I want to get you a rating for this one. This one's going to be interesting rating-wise, I should say. Guys, in the chat as well, give us your rating for this episode. I'm pretty sure this is going to be the highest rated episode for me anyway. But that's not saying much because this is still, like, for me, I'm still going to say it. This is way below the standard that I believe Doctor Who should be at. Personally, and I know I got a bit heated last week, and as you hear, I'm calm this week. But I'm not going down that road again. But I'm just saying, guys, we're halfway through the season now, and a lot of people are saying it's either inconsistent or it's it's average or it's poor. This is not what we expect as Doctor Who fans, and the standard has to be much higher. And RTD. Shouldn't be getting a free pass. And, the other side certainly seem to be giving them a free pass. But I have seen chinks in the chain. So maybe the vibe is changing a little bit. But I'll start off the rating. And I think I'm going to give this one. I'm going to give it a 4.5. I can't give it a 5. Even though I did enjoy this one, I have to compare it to what he's done before. And he did say that this was the best thing he's written for Doctor Who, and I disagree with him. Actually, in the private chat there said Voyage of the Damned is the one, is the most rated one that he has, and I'd have to say it probably is up there because I love Voyage of the Damned. I think it is the best thing that one of the things he has written for Doctor Who. Comparing it to Voyage of the Damned, this is nowhere near the level. So for me, 4.5, I think is a pretty good score considering that, all of the other scores have either been minuses or zeros. So I'll hand you over to the Queen, and I'll throw up user scores there while Charlotte is giving hers.
I've been trying to think of this all day. What am I going to give it? Because this episode, in moments, I was like, yes, Russell, you're back when it comes to writing. And then other moments, I was like, what on earth are we playing at here? So I'm going to give this... I'm going to give this a 7. Because if I think about this in context to Boom as well, I honestly think in hindsight, now I've had time to think about it, I enjoyed Boom more because the writing for me was a better overall story. The stakes were better set out and they made sense. And I just found that more enjoyable. Whereas initially when I watched this, I was like, oh God, this is better. But like we've said, you think about it and it falls apart. So I can't give this higher than Boom because to me, Boom didn't have that quality. It actually still stands up quite well to me, that episode. But like I said, tension, atmosphere, some of the character beats, Millie's performance, even the use of the setting at the beginning, the Welsh sort of hills and the little village. I agree, actually, the music, this is one of the few times I've liked the music this series so far. So, like I said, lots of positives. That's why it has to be on the higher end. But I can't have this be an 8 or a 9 or a 10 when such of your big plot points are not answered. And now Russell's literally going out saying he's not going to answer them. To me, that feels like he's almost taunting the fans again. Yeah. And Russell, you are in no position right now to taunt this fan base. Because I think you're on the precipice of having a mighty fall in your own circle, not with us. I'm talking about your executive producers and the people that now want results from you. I think you're on the precipice of that all starting to turn on you. So yeah, I'll give this a 7.
Cinnamon.
Yeah, I'm pretty much exactly the same. I'd give it a 7 as well. I preferred Boom to this. I give Boom a 9, didn't I? So yeah, I think that kind of answers itself. But I think this one has the most. What was it? Yeah, I think it has the most story, but I don't think, even though it has the most story, it doesn't work. If that somehow makes sense. Like the other previous episodes had maybe less of a story, but it worked more. It made more sense. I understood it to a point. Like Mark Harvey just says, like, who knew the old woman was her immediately? I clocked it fairly quickly. Eventually, I thought, okay, it's going to turn out to be her when she's older, and it'll do some sort of full circle thing. Oh, and that's what happened. Again, there's small little things like, well, what actually happened to the Doctor? Then why did he actually disappear? That, and again, at that point as well, could it have had an extra 10 minutes? It could have, but I also think Noel's right as well. You got 45 minutes. You had 45 minutes in the previous era that you were on the show, and you did it okay then. Although I do agree these episodes should be longer because we are getting less episodes, so they should be longer in length, at least an hour long. But Noel is also right at the same time. You should be able to, in the time that you're allocated, you should still be able to pull it off. So again, that could have been, if you tighten up the script a little bit more, and again, it's almost like he's come up with a good idea, and he thought, well, that's a good idea I've got, but like I don't really know how to sort of elaborate on it more or really flesh it out. So I'll just come up with a little thing. I'll just let them decide. It's not really good enough. Like, again, I see what you're trying to do. You're trying to be clever and say, "Oh, what was it she said? Oh, I won't tell you." That's not quite good though. This isn't a midnight where it works in that particular context. It doesn't here, but yeah. I would say that episodes 3 and 4 are better than 1 and 2, even though I liked 1. 2, Devil's Card's definitely the weakest so far for me in the Shooty Gatwa era. Like I say, do I think it's promising? I think good, because episodes 3 and 4 I've liked more than the first 2. Again, I hope that next week, next week, the Friday really, that'll be for me on Saturday midnight will be good. Typically, Russell's episodes are usually stronger later in the season, but I give this one a 7. Wasn't nothing amazing like some people are chalking it up. A good effort, but definitely. I mean, sorry, Russell, but you should never have said that this is the best thing you've done. Midnight was far, far superior to this. But yeah, so it's a 7 from me.
PD.
Okay, I just want to say this. Rabbi has got a feeling that they cut out a lot from this episode, and that's why it was on the chopping block for ages. That's why it took the extra 5 months to do the cutting. 2, Disparu said he liked this episode until he saw the ending, then he hated it. And a friend of mine, who's a Whovian, who's a pretty big Whovian, but she's not what you call a major Whovian, kind of a normie Whovian, turned around and said the ending was baffling. It was a good episode, the ending was totally baffling. But I'm going to be generous. I'm going to give it a 6. It's good. For the best episode of the series so far, but it's not the best, if you know what I mean.
I think that's where we all are with this one. It is, look, when it's all over, as I said, we'll do a whole season review, and we'll probably I'll definitely probably binge watch this whole series again, see if I missed them, and see if it's
just quickly, mate. I just want to say it needed. Have you seen? Remember the Almost
People? Another point that I've just completely forgotten to make it.
I've got to head off, lads. So you have to
quickly. I just want to say this. Remember the Almost people? Remember that ending with the expedition and the Tardis, and then the Doctor takes a scan of Amy and sees there's something wrong. You needed that ending on the end of this, and it would have been perfect. You needed that ending. They didn't do it. Okay, I'm done.
Right, Cinnamon, real brief, quick.
Just quickly on that point, I also took issue with the fact that no one, there was no consequence. It almost like it never happened, and no one remembered anything. Like not even Ruby was allowed to get the memories of it or anything. That kind of bothered me as well. Felt like a bit of a waste of an episode. Like it again, but
that's nowhere.
Yeah, there's no danger, but we'll get into that. Look. This one, obviously, I had to kind of rush off. I'm actually in the middle of doing stuff, and I have to head out.
Amy's choice was like that.
But what we'll do is we'll get everybody briefly, just to very quickly tell everybody where they're going to be and blah, 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 and we'll leave it there. So, Queen Charlotte, go ahead.
Yep, so you'll catch me on Type 40 tomorrow. We will be doing a roundup of the news. We'll talk a little bit about the ratings, not as much of the deep dive we did last week. And I recorded a review for Space Babies for the podcast. Dan's in the process of editing that, so keep your eyes out for our Space Babies review.
Fantastic. Cinnamon?
Yep, you can follow me on my YouTube channel under the same name here, Cinnamon Toast Crunch, and you can follow me on Twitter, as I'm sure PD's putting all the links in the chat there under the same name.
Fantastic. And PD?
I'm not linking every channel tonight. I'm only going to link a few. So catch me in the chat on Rabbis. I might not be here in a couple of weeks' time because I'll be working on a theatre show. So I'll be busy as heck. But I'll be back in a few weeks' time.
Fantastic. Absolutely brilliant. And I'll be back here soon, guys. Look out for that. I'm still on me ban on the other channel. Should be back there next week. So yeah, we'll wrap it up there, folks. Thank you for joining us. Really do appreciate it. That's been our 73 yards. There's not really much to be saying anymore. We'll see you on Friday for the next disaster. Hopefully it isn't, but with slugs in it, I'm not really hopeful. But anyway, we'll see. You never know. The CGI might actually do it.
Prometheus.
Anyway, we'll leave it there, folks. Thank you for joining us. Good night and enjoy the rest of your evening. Bye-bye.
Good night.
Night.
Bye.